Steve, here we are. Another episode of the Steel Target Paint Podcast, number 8. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Jeff, how are you doing today?
I am fantastic. You know, we just finished up the Area 6 match. You came away with a number of awards. I actually snuck a few in there, and it was a great time seeing all our friends and, again, shooting steel.
Yeah, it was a great match down there right outside of Daytona, Florida. Definitely will be back next year. You know, it wasn't too hot and it didn't rain like it did over at the WAC, Jeff, just saying.
Hey, you know, somebody said order up good weather, so I did. There was even a breeze out there, so I don't know how many Diva fans may have been running, but I know Saturday we didn't have to run ours. We had a nice breeze going on. So from this match, Steve, you got any tips you want to share? Maybe something that happened this weekend or something you did or had happen or whatever that our listeners might like to hear.
You know, Jeff, I found this weekend to be an interesting match just from the standpoint of it was a level 3 match. A lot of great competitors down at the range, and there were certainly a couple of times I stepped up to the fire line with a little bit of uncertainty saying, hey, you know what, I'm down a half a second here or half a second there, and what I just thought to myself in the back of my head is get up, let me shoot my first string somewhere in that 85 to 90% of where I know that my edge is or what I can shoot it in, and then just be consistent. And, you know, I was fortunate to shoot a lot of 4-string great stages, so ended up with a couple more plaques for the wall. So it was definitely more of a mental match than a physical match this weekend.
Excellent. Well, again, everybody, you know, if you haven't read Steve's blog, he talks about what the edge is. I highly recommend it because it does help when you're in a match. So, Steve, you reached out to our next guest, so I'm going to let you introduce him and kick off the interview.
All right, Jeff, I'm excited. We've got Mark McCoy here with us. He is the founder and CEO of Carolina Arms Group, which is based in Mooresville, North Carolina. How you doing, Mark?
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for having me on.
Great to have you. It sounds like you're out on the road today.
Oh, well, Carolina Arms Group, we move around quite a bit. I'm very active in the brand of Carolina Arms Group, and I like to touch base with all the new customers that we have, not only dealers but individuals as well. It's my sole mission, customer care first.
Well, that's fantastic. You spend a lot of time out on the road and touching hands and putting some of these guns in people's hands to try out. That's fantastic.
Yes, indeed. What's nice about being on the road is you can always pull over and go to different gun stores no matter where you are. So one of my things is maybe the gun store is just not, you know, one of these premier mega gun stores. I still pop in, say hi, introduce myself, and I put the gun in their hand and say, hey, just feel this. And the first thing they do is they rack it back, and they're like, oh, wait a minute. Who are you again? And then next thing you know, it's Carolina Arms Group. And then they'll say, oh, you know, I've heard about you guys. You have either the Veteran Carry or the Blaze Ops Edition 1911. And we say, yes, that is exactly who we are. And then right there, the dialogue just starts rolling.
You know, Mark, I got to tell a funny, real quick story before we get going. Whenever I hand somebody my Carolina Arms Group Trenton Pro 1911 chambered in 9mm, it's amazing watching these big bburly guys turn into little school children. They rack the slide. They just get all giddy like little school children. It's it's a great experience. So before we get too far into that, can you give everybody a little bit of your background on how you got into the firearms business?
I gladly, thank you, Steve. Well, originally I'm from Ohio, and I grew up on a farm. So I got lots of hard work and dedication. I joined the Navy and retired from naval aviation after 21 years. And I was very fortunate while I was on that retirement. I started to grow a nice curly beard, and I was called by a headhunter. They wanted me to work at Para Ordnance out of Toronto, Canada. And Para Ordnance was actually moving to the U.S. So I was part of the transition team when they changed the name from Para Ordnance to Para USA. I was a director of quality there at Para from 2009 to roughly 2012-ish. 2013. So after I was there, I was like, hey, wait a minute, I understood what they were doing, but I wanted to do it better. And I wanted to make a truly handcrafted 1911 sourced only from American steel and American vendors. When I started doing that, we started buying CNCs and start machining various parts in-house. And once I knew the feel that I wanted, I started to train all of my staff the way I wanted the gun built, how I wanted it to run, and how precise and accurate it needed to be. Right at the beginning, it was kind of challenging because, as you know how precise your gun is, I needed to make sure every Carolina Arms Group 1911 came out with that same accuracy and that same fit and function of our 1911s that we're known for.
Well, that's great. And, Mark, before we get any further, just want to thank you for your service to our country. It means a lot to, I know, myself and Jeff.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate, all of us veterans appreciate whatever kindness and thanks that we get.
Well, Mark, let me ask you this. Para puts out a lot of different kind of guns. What was it about the 1911? Like, why did you want to build 1911s? It's a gun that's been around for over 100 years.
It has.
Why would you think that's the gun I want to build?
Americana. Patriotism. 1911 is the American handgun. And there's nothing sexier than 1911, to be quite honest. From the line to how it looks, it's truly a mechanical work of art. The 1911, it's been around, and I think what we've done with it is our interpretation of the fit, feel, and function, and listening to not only military GIs, but also listening in the later years, listening to the shooters that operate the gun, saying, hey, I'd like to have this feel, or this would be neat, or that would be neat. As far as accessory-wise, as far as the 1911, it can definitely be accessorized to pretty much whatever the shooter or the owner can dream.
So, Mark, how many different models do you currently produce for your Carolina Arms Group 1911?
Currently, we have around 7 different models, and they're all very patriotic names. Our flagship was the Trenton, which is after the Battle of Trenton. You actually have the Trenton Pro, which is an accurized version of the Trenton. After the Trenton line, which is your standard 1911 in a 5-inch, we also then introduced the Trenton Carry, which is an officer frame with a 4 1/4 slide. After the Trenton line and the TC line, then we came out with the Privateer. After the Privateer, then we came out with a gun, it was called the CWO, which is Chief Warrant Officer, which is an officer frame with a 3 3.5-inch slide. Then we started to get into the bigger guns. We have a hunting gun, which is the Freedom 10. It's a 6-inch long slide on a government frame, and it comes in 10 millimeters. That's the only one. You can't get the Freedom 10 in anything but a 10 millimeter. Then after that, we started venturing out. We started to do, we had, people come to us, trainers. We have Pat McNamara from T-Max Inc. He commissioned a special run of 25 1911s, and it's called the Blaze Up, which is a very interesting gun. It's after his Springfield operator that he had when he was in the military. He's like, hey, look, I really enjoy my operator, but I like the quality you guys are putting out. Let's go ahead and do something. So then we came out with the Blaze Ops edition. Now, the Blaze Ops only comes in a 45, but it's pretty close to our Privateer, which comes in 9, 38 Super, 40 if you really have to have it, and 45. All of our guns pretty much come in all those different calibers, with the exception of the Freedom 10. And of course, it's 10 millimeter. And then we have a brand new gun that we just launched, which is the Patriot. Now, it's a 9 millimeter. It's more tactical, so to speak, which is pretty interesting. And then we also have our veteran and veteran carry line, which once again they come 9, 38 Super, 40 special order only, and 45.
Hey, Jeff, have you seen the Patriot?
I have not yet. No, I've seen your gun, and it's a beautiful gun, but I have not seen the Patriot yet.
Oh, the Patriot. It's a nice looking interpretation of the 1911. It is downright sexy. Can I say that on the air? I just said it, Jeff. Sexy.
You just said it. Hey, you edit it, so it's going to stay in.
Yeah, it's the Patriot's rather interesting. It has very aggressive forward and rear cocking serrations. It's tri-top. It's also panel cut. Very, very aggressive checkering for the front strap and back strap. The shooter definitely knows what they're holding on that. And then we did something different on that one. That one only comes with a bull barrel. And our 9mm, a lot of people like the crown we do on the barrels because they're nice and deep.
Right.
Well, Mark, let me ask you this. I mean, I have a 1911, both chambered in 9 and 45. But I always wondered, and now that we're talking to a guy that builds them, the modern 1911, how far away is that from the original John Moses Browning design?
Wow. Very good question. The frame and the slide is pretty much what is left of how it looks. Now, as far as internal controls, a lot of things have changed over the years as far as the hammer sear disconnector and how people machine the hammer sear disconnector. Ours are all wire EDM, which if you were to ask John Moses Browning, hey, is your hammer sear disconnector made out of, or is it wire EDM? He's going to go, huh? The precision has gotten a lot more. The aesthetic, the beaver tail grip safety that John Moses Browning had designed, it went through variations as well from the 1911 to the A1, and it was all about how it felt in the hands of the operator. Ours, we have a really high, wide beaver tail grip safety where it changes the purchase of the gun. So your point of aim to impact is a lot tighter because you have less room from the top of your wrist to your sight pattern. So the accuracy comes in. It's more feasible for the shooter, as well as the safety. John Moses Browning, he only had a single side safety. It was very small. Whereas the newer ones, they're more shooter friendly. They're wider paths, also ambidextrous for right and left-handed people. And then now, in the new version, your triggers are adjustable, so you can take out the take-up. If you want a shorter trigger pull, you can adjust that out.
So it sounds like it's just really improvements in the manufacturing process, and possibly, some slight design changes, but in general, his original design is still what's being produced.
Yes, it is. I mean, he perfected it then, and wow, I mean, it's the longest running handgun that really hasn't changed.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mark, one of the questions that I get out on the range all the time after they see that I shoot a Carolina Arms Group gun, they always want to, of course, try it out and shoot it and say, wow, this thing is really, really nice. But then we get into a discussion quickly centered around there's a lot of great 1911 builders out there, and they asked me, why should I buy one from Carolina Arms Group? So how would you answer that same question? Why should they buy a Carolina Arms Group 1911 instead of one of the other great builders that are out there?
Wait, let me jump in there. It's because he's got to eat. Okay. So
well, outside of that.
Great. It's not great.
Sorry.
That's a really great question, and we get that a lot. We're in the top tier of 1911 manufacturers as far as the niche we're in, as far as the custom house goes. We really pride ourselves on customer service and the customer experience. When you purchase a Carolina Arms Group 1911, it's more than just, oh, that's a great gun, and I really like it. It's how we treat our customers. We actually bring them into the family. We reach out to them. We talk to them one-on-one. We have a no-haggle warranty. These are mechanical works of art, so, we have to remind ourselves it's mechanical. When they come to us, we bring them into the family. We treat them like family We reach out, we talk to them, we ask them how the wives and the children are, or how the husbands are. We take that customer service experience to the next level. As far as the quality, we're top. We're top of the top, in my humble opinion. And we're offering something else that I don't think other companies are doing, and that's the experience. That's the brotherhood. That's the camaraderie that we offer in our high-quality 1911.
Let me ask you this, Mark, and when this podcast goes live, I'll post some pictures out on the Steel Target Painting podcast page, and you did some customization on my particular gun. So as an example, a different trigger, a different grips or thumb safety, and you did some laser engraving for me, which came out top notch. Can just anybody make those types of requests and get that level of customization if they buy a Carolina Arms Group gun?
Yes, we're the only ones that really offer that. You call in and say, hey, I want a Trenton Pro, just like you did. One of the first things Dustin did was like, hey, we can put your name in it. We can put handcrafted for, Steve. And we actually asked you for your autograph, did we not?
That is true.
So we got your autograph, and your actual signature is on your gun. And we do that for anyone that asks for it. We actually offer it to the customers. Now, since you brought up that laser engraving, I know you've seen this on your gun when you take it apart. Each and every part of our 1911 is serialized. So let's say the last 3 digits of your serial number are 137. Well, your hammer, ear, trigger, mainspring housing, grip safety, slide, everything is serialized to those 3 numbers. Now, people ask, why do you put that on there? It's like, well, we do that so that the customer knows that those parts were all hand-fitted to that gun. And we don't stop there. We have so much pride in what we do that we hold our gunsmiths accountable. So each gunsmith, we don't put a stamp in there with a letter. They actually sign it, just like you signed your name, and that's laser engraved into the frame of the gun. If it's not in the frame, it's on the grip. So that's the Carolina Arms Group difference.
Well, that's amazing, and yes, I have noticed the serial number on all the parts or components for the gun. It's first class for sure.
Thank you.
So, Mark, I spend a little bit of time out on Instagram, and I saw that you guys are well over 21,000 followers on Instagram. Please stop posting pictures out there, by the way. But
hey, we're trying to get your wife to approve more guns. We want to sell you more guns.
She told me if I stop looking at pictures of the guns online, she may give me another one. We'll see.
Oh, exactly.
But there was one gun that came up. I've seen it a couple times, but it came back up again. It's the Lone Survivor Foundation gun that you had up on Instagram. For those of the audience that are not familiar with what the Lone Survivor Foundation is, could you help educate them?
Yes, gladly. Me being a veteran and our staff being veterans as well, when I formed the company, I said, okay, guys, if it's a 501c3 and they have a proven cause, we'll look into them. And the Lone Survivor Foundation, they popped up 3 years ago. And what they do is they not only help the individual that suffers from PTSD, but they help the family of the folks that suffer from PTSD. If you go online, they're willing, a lot of people other than the Lone Survivor Foundation, they're willing to just help the individual suffering from it. Well, the Lone Survivor Foundation, they take it a step further, realizing, okay, yes, the individual may have PTSD, but that PTSD, that affects their family. And Vanessa Forrest and all the great folks at Lone Survivor Foundation, you do have, it's a process to go to one of their retreats, but when you do, it's not just you. It's your spouse, it's your children, it's your parents. And it's all about developing the individual to not only recognize what's going on, but also to have their spouses and their children recognize. Mom or dad's quiet. They're kind of zoning out. What can I do to try to bring them back to reality? And that's where the Lone Survivor Foundation comes in. They take you for a 2-week retreat where you are with other veterans and their families. So not only the individuals can work amongst themselves with other patients, but the families can also work together to try to make the healthiest family that they possibly can have. And we did 2 charity guns for them, one in 2015, one in 2016. And I really wanted to help the foundation even more. One of our guns, the first year, it raised $7,000. The second year, it raised $12,000. So
Wow.
what we've done for Lone Survivor Foundation is we're doing a limited run. We're doing 25 guns, and they're all numbered. One of 25 will be at the charity event this February in Houston, Texas. And all the other ones are up for sale for donation. So 2 of 25 all the way up to 24 of 25. I have already purchased 25 of 25. So these are all for sale for $3,500 each. And the money goes to the Lone Survivor Foundation. So they're not only buying one heck of a handcrafted 1911, but it's also functional. And proceeds of that goes to the Lone Survivor Foundation to help raise awareness and to get more people into their retreat.
Wow, it sounds like a great cause. While we were talking, I looked up the website, and it is lonesurvivorfoundation.org, and they've got a donate button on the top right. That's absolutely outstanding that you guys are supporting such a great cause.
Thank you. I'd appreciate that everyone can go there and donate. Not, every dollar will count. So, we're not asking for large donations, but any donation that people can give to the Lone Survivor Foundation, they're helping out veterans and they're helping out their families that suffer from PTSD.
All right, back to Instagram. Okay, there's a lot of Carolina Arms Group guns that have caught my eye. And it's hard to pick a favorite, but I've got a couple favorites. But I want to ask you first, Mark, what is the gun that really stands out to you or has made an impression on you personally or your company that you're just like, wow, great team, great job, team, we knocked it out of the park?
That would be Donald Trump Jr.'s gun. His gun turned out amazing. That's one of them. It's a Trenton Presidential. It's hand-polished stainless steel. Just in polishing alone was right at 105 hours
Wow.
of hand polishing. We polished each and every part of that 1911. My personal favorite, though, would be the Veteran Carry. I designed all the guns that we have in our portfolio, but the Veteran Carry, that gun really just trips my trick. I pick it up, it just feels right in your hand from the bobtail to the grips that we have on it. It hits home to me a little more. I am a veteran, and that one right there, I really, this is a G-rated podcast, so we'll just kind of keep it at that.
We appreciate that. I really love the high polish gun that I saw. I don't know, it's been probably 6-7 months or so ago, but talking about tripping a trigger, that Damascus Slides that you guys have been putting out there are just beautiful. What can you tell us about the Damascus?
Damascus, we're one of very few 1911 companies that do the Damascus in the way we do. Our Damascus is hand-forged. It's folded anywhere from 120 folds clear up to 250 full. Caliber down in Alabama, Homewood, Alabama, Caliber, they wanted to have this done, and they went to our competitors, the other folks, and said, hey, this is what we want, and they couldn't quite pull it off the way we were able to do it. When we put them in the CNCs, we actually think it takes a lot longer to machine the Damascus because you're working with different forms of steel. So if you want to wreck a $250,000 CNC, you can do that with Damascus. It has to be forged the right way. You have a lot of folks, oh, I forged this at home. Could you CNC it for me? No, it doesn't quite work that way. We only work with Vegas Forge out of Las Vegas, Nevada. And Jesse and I, we met over in Germany at Iowa. And he was like, hey, I want to send you some steel, take a look at it, and see what you can do with it. So we actually cut a few pieces of it up to see if there were any voids inside of it. And once we realized it was solid as can be, then we started to machine it. We etch. After we're done machining it, we then etch it to where we get peaks and valleys in our slide, where some of the other Damascus, it's all flat on the side.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you've seen that or not, but we have peaks and valleys in ours, which gives it that, wow, very, very classic, clean look.
Yeah, they're absolutely beautiful. Do you guys currently offer a Damascus slide on a gun? And if so, where do I go to buy one?
No, Steve. Where do you go?
That we,
Wife get permission for you to buy one? That's what you want to know.
Jeff, you just sounded just like my wife, just a little deeper voice.
well, that's very interesting that you asked for that. You can only get them in one place in the U.S., and that's down in Calibers in Homewood, Alabama. We machine them specifically for them. You got Ryan Hand is the general manager at Caliber in Homewood. If you give them a call, say, hey, I was listening to this wonderful podcast, and they told me I had to buy the Damascus guns from here, they will definitely walk you through the whole process. They're sitting on, right now they're sitting on 5 very unique sets of guns. Notice I said set. It's called the Banker Special. And they're consecutive serial number guns. One is in 9mm, and the other was in 45. And that's the Banker Specialty. And the other one that they offer is the Sahara Edition, which both of them are commander-sized guns. One may have Stingray on it, while the other one has Crocodile on it. And they come with some very nice options, especially for the wives. See where we're going?
I gotcha.
The husband may get the grip choice, the grip option that he wants, and of course the wife does.
Very, very nice. Very nice.
I'm trying to give you a hint.
I know. I am going to forward this podcast to my wife after we air it. Honey, this is the reason why I tagged you out on Facebook. In case it wasn't subtle.
Look, honey, I bought you a gun. This is your gun.
Feel it. Wow, that's nice.
Well, I'm going to have to take a trip over to Homewood, Alabama. That's only a couple hours from here. I'd be interested to see what they've got going on over there at Caliber. That's cool.
They have an amazing collection of firearms. And actually, I just came from there. And the reason why I was down there, if you recall, we only work with 501c3s that have a cause that meets our criteria. We actually went down to Quality Gear Management Association. And we donated a gun to them, and we ran into good time friend Brian Conley from Hunter's HC Gold as well.
Oh,
down
great.
There. But I hand deliver all those guns for the 501c3s for the charities. So we did a gun for them as well. It had QDMA right on the side, and it went over, huge hit, and raised quite a bit of money for their 501c3.
Well, that's fantastic. So what's up next for Carolina Arms Group? What's cool and exciting you guys got going on?
Well, you really can't share this with too many people, but I'm just going to say it like this. If you looked at our post, I think it was yesterday. I'm just going to leave this right here. The question is, single stack or double stack?
Uh-oh.
Oh, here comes some limited guns.
Uh-oh.
I'm just going to leave that right there, Steve. We're not going any further. Not going any further.
All right, Mark. I expect to see some cool things. I'm going to take a trip up to see you next week.
Hey, you're more than welcome to come up to Carolina Arms Group in wonderful Mooresville, North Carolina.
Oh, that's
Steve,
way
I'm
cool.
thinking 9mm limited gun for steel.
You know, I'm thinking that. I'm thinking an open gun. It's just my head just Woo.
Well, we have Bomar cut. We have rear adjustable. We have RMR, and then we also have this little platform that goes on the frame that kind of goes up, and there's this what's that called on top, Steve?
Oh, stop it, Mark. Oh.
You know where I'm going with it, that little thing on top, you know?
Yeah. I thought you said this was a G-rated show because I'm about ready to come out of character.
Hey, if you can dream it, we can build it. That's the Carolina Arms Group way.
Well, very, very cool, Mark. Very cool.
Also, did you know that I have another division of Carolina Arms Group called CAG Custom Shop?
Tell us about that.
Well, if you have any gun that you'd like modified, you can send it over to our gunsmith at CAG Custom Shop. So if you want an RMR put in the back of your 1911, or you want different sights, or if it's a little loose and you want the Carolina Arms Group feel, we'll go ahead, we'll do trigger jobs. We'll change out mainspring housings, change out triggers, put different sights on it for you. We have reasonable turnaround times, and we're not going to take you to the clean. But the CAG Custom Shop, we'll do ARs. We do quite a few double stacks come through there. We do 1911s. We do revolvers. If it's a firearm, we can pretty much do it. Anything but Class 3. We don't touch Class 3 weapons.
Well, that's amazing. Mark, really appreciate your time today. I know that I learned a little bit more about you and Carolina Arms Group and the fine work that you guys are doing. It's not common in today's environment that we've got great people leading great companies that are centered around the morals and beliefs of the United States and supporting great causes and our veterans. My hat goes off to you, Mark. I'm honored to be associated with you guys for sure.
I second that.
Well, thank you.
Too, Mark. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you very much. I just want to say real quick in closing, go Bulldogs.
What's that you break? What's that you breaking up? Why did the podcast end all of a sudden?
That's
right. I do appreciate your time.
All right, thanks, Mark.
Hey, Jeff, do you have any tips and tricks out on the range for us?
You know I do, Steve. And for those that have been shooting open, and I'm talking rimfire open or PCC open, I've also added rimfire rifle iron and PCC iron. And one thing it's done, it didn't reflect too much of my scores this weekend, and because I had a focus issue on 2 of the days. But when I was shooting iron sights, I was very focused. And I went back and counted my ammo. And on one match, I shot 207 shots. And another match, I shot 210 shots. Now, for those of you that all know when you shoot steel, 195 is the max. And we're not necessarily worried about taking extra shots because, as they say, if you're not missing, you're not going fast enough. But it's also, if you're not taking a lot of shots, that means you're probably getting a lot of 1-for-1s and probably getting some of your better scores. I was fortunate enough. I set 2 match records for myself in those iron sight guns and some personal records. And the whole thing there that I've starting to realize is the iron sights I believe, are going to help me with my open to maintain that focus. And so that's my tip is if you're feeling a little squirrely on your open gun, maybe pick up an iron sight gun where you have to stay a little more focused and then see what that does for your open shooting.
That's a great tip, Jeff. I know that I tend to get myself regrounded when I shoot an iron sight gun, and that's why I try to shoot one at every match, because it really does make you focus back on the fundamentals of shooting. So great tip.
Thank you. All right, Steve, you're our product guy. What did you find this week for our listeners?
Wow, there's so many great products out on rangestore.net, and I had some questions this past weekend of my pro ears that I wear, both shooting pistol and rifle. They're available out on rangestore.net. There's a couple models out there, but if Altus Brands, which owns pro ears, if you find a model that is not sold out on rangestore.net, reach out to myself and we will make it available for you. And remember, there's a discount code for 10% off, which is ST Podcast for 10% off.
All right. Everybody needs ears, so if you need a pair, try those pro ears out. All right, Steve. Well, this has been another good podcast. Great talking with Mark. We got some tips out there. We've got some special guests lined up. We're going to pick another stage in coming weeks and break that down. Smoke and Hope, I think, comes out, or just came out last week. I'm having fun. I hope you are. What do you think?
I'm having a blast, Jeff. I know. That's like a knee slapper, right? Having a blast. All right, that's all I've got for today.
All right, everybody. Well, you know what? Don't forget, one shot, one steal.